I've never heard anything like that. You could hear people basically begging for their lives.
It's just like a waterfall of fire and flames.
I heard a lot of screams and I could see people banging on the windows and there was fire all around them. It was horrendous.
She was screaming, "I've got a baby, please help me get out. I can't get out. I'm trapped. I need to save my baby."
In my 29 years of being a firefighter, I have never, ever seen anything of this scale.
This is what Grenfell Tower used to look like. A home to hundreds of people, built in the 1970s, recently refurbished, a familiar sight to many people travelling in and out of London. It's in Kensington, a name synonymous with wealth, but this is an area of social housing. The people here are a blend of nationalities, living in the heart of one of the world's most diverse cities. At 5 minutes to 1, the fire brigade summoned here to a hellish inferno. A 24-storey building gripped by a fire that got ever more intense, at a time when so many people were at home, asleep.
It was just like a waterfall on the left-hand side of fire and flames, but now it's spread all to the right of the building, that part there, and it's also gone down the left-hand side of the building as well.
Dozens of fire engines attended the scene, along with police, ambulances and crowds, anxious onlookers, friends, and also those who'd escaped.
The best thing you guys can do if you've got family, friends, relatives, stay behind the line.
What caused this will of course be investigated, but one resident told us he believed the fire had started in his neighbour's flat, sparked by a faulty fridge.
It's by chance that we had a knock, and the guy who knocked so happens to be the guy whose house was the cause of the whole thing. It's his fridge. He explained to us as he came down afterwards and was outside the building, he explained to us that it was due to his fridge which exploded. That's what he kept saying. On the fourth floor.
And do you think everyone inside the block has been evacuated?
No.
How do you know?
How do we know? Because the fire spread extremely quick.
Charlie Little Mate from Interbank, go ahead, over.
So what do you do if you're confronted by this nightmare? Well, this is the advice given to residents in Grenfell Tower, told to stay put in their flat unless a fire actually reached them. Many chose to ignore this. They chose to flee.
I've opened the window and I heard some woman saying it's getting bigger. So I've gone out to the hallway, I've looked through the spire hole, I see smoke everywhere. I've opened the door and the neighbours were there, the people screaming, the firemen said, "Get down the stairs." So I've grabbed the little girl, grabbed my girlfriend, ran out of the house. I heard a lot of screams and I could see, after I got outside, I was looking up and I could see people banging on the windows and there was fire all around them. It was horrendous.
We saw people from the 14th floor crying, people from the 16th floor, my neighbour, his son was struggling. I told him, "Where is your dad?" because I know his dad. And he said to me, "He's indoors, he can't walk." I said to him, "Let's go in." When we went try to get in, the smoke is nowhere you can get. Me, I was going through the floor. The fire brigade, they had their oxygen. We never had the oxygen, so I just have to leave.
So there were firefighters inside the building evacuating people?
They just came in, trying to evacuate the people, telling them to go. But they told us to stay in, but I have to open the door and to get out.
There was a lot of people on the upper floors flashing their torchlights, and the most upsetting thing about it all was you could make out there was a couple of young kids with flashlights waving at people to try and help them. You could hear a lot of screaming saying, "Help me, please, please, please," and it's just really emotional and sad to hear.
Daylight comes early at this time of year. What we saw was harrowing.
I just found this on the floor. Somebody's work.
Around the tower, a carpet of debris, charred possessions, but also the industrial cladding that had burnt from around the building. Hundreds of emergency personnel, but inside, look, to the left of your screen, you can see what appears to be a resident still in their flat, peering out while 3 stories above them this building burns. We don't know what happened to this person. But a story that's been told repeatedly is one of utter desperation, of people in this tower trapped and jumping for their lives.
I did see a few people jump. People were jumping. I think at that point it was you either jump in trying to save your life, you might break a few bones or get engulfed in that flame.
I saw two people jump from the right-hand side, I think they were either floor from 10 to 15. I couldn't tell you which floors. I couldn't tell you if they were adults. I couldn't tell you if they were kids or teenagers. All I could see is two people flinging themselves off the thing. People were telling me other people are doing it on the other side as well. There's just one staircase, one in, one out. So if you can't get to them staircase, you are not getting out that building. There's only one way out that building, and that's to jump.
Being trapped in a burning building is many people's idea of a nightmare. For some, there was relief in simply surviving.
Right? Very, very, very small. Tito, I'm alive. I'm all right. I'm in Arrow Club. They've evacuated us there. I didn't want to wake you by 1 o'clock.
But for others, the trauma of separation, of not knowing what had happened to friends and to loved ones.
The woman sounds like calm, and she wasn't panicked or anything. And I said, "Where is your husband?" She said, "He's talking to the emergency." And I said, "Why didn't you come out?" She said, "They tell us to stay in. We cannot come out." And I said, "What did they ask you to do?" She said, "They asked us to cover the doors with towels." And she said, "But the fire is coming heavily." And then about, I think, 10, 15 minutes later, we phoned them back. And I said, "Where is your husband?" She said, "He's still talking." And they said, "They're coming to us." And I said, "What happened?" She said, the last thing she said, "Smoke is coming heavily through the door into the flat." And that was the last time we heard of her.
Khadija sent out a message about 12 hours ago to say that she was trapped and that everybody should pray for her. We've been to every single place that they've asked us to go to. We've separated our families into different places. Some are contacting hospitals, and we're just wandering around trying to look for them since this morning.
Who's helping you?
No one. We're doing it ourselves.
And behind them, the flames burnt on relentlessly. The capital's worst inferno for many, many years.
This is an unprecedented incident. In my 29 years of being a firefighter, I have never, ever seen anything of this scale. Our first fire engines were on scene in under 6 minutes. Crews wearing breathing apparatus and extended duration breathing apparatus have been working in extremely challenging and very difficult conditions to rescue people and to bring this major fire under control. At this time, I am very sad to confirm that there have been a number of fatalities.
We've got loads of food, Tesco's, cart full of food there.
Amidst the trauma and the grief, the best side of humanity emerged too. People and organisations rushing to offer food, water, clothes and shelter. Many thousands of pounds have already been pledged to help, and that sum is growing very rapidly. The questions that will now follow are not just about how this fire started, but why it grew so huge and so fast. And if that can happen to Grenfell Tower, could it happen somewhere else?
The focus of the experts today is the search and rescue. Very soon, I'm afraid, it'll move on to recovery. But there are genuine concerns, reasonable concerns that have been raised during the course of the night, and it's really important that these questions are answered.
This building has just been refurbished, a process that took around 2 years and cost millions of pounds. But residents here have long alleged it's unsafe. Just 7 months ago, one group predicted a catastrophic event, a prediction that today came grimly true.
There was an issue a few years ago where there was a small fire, and there was concerns from the TMO residents regarding this building and the safety of this building. There was a lot of worries, and this was one of the worries, that one day something like this could happen.
Grenfell Tower was built to the standards of the 1970s. Just one staircase, no central alarm and no sprinkler system. Investigators will want to know if the cladding put around it resisted the fire or made it worse. There has been a response from Rydon, the company that did the building work. It said, "We will cooperate with the relevant authorities and emergency services and fully support their inquiries into the causes of this fire at the appropriate time." The government has said checks will be carried out into all tower blocks that had similar refurbishments. There has been heroism today, and people have survived an appalling experience. But many others have died, and lessons will have to be learned. A night whose shocking events will reverberate for a very long time. Adam Parsons, Sky News.